show all about the letter Z. Geraldine, what are you going to be doing?
I'm going to tell lots of alphabet jokes.
Alphabet jokes. Story time. We're going to be singing some everything, so stay with us. Place is next.
Now kids all love to laugh, play clown. Listen to the music man when he comes into town. Kids all love to see kids play some TV. Dad and all the family. So come on down to kids, get the best seat in the house. We've always got a smile for you, our happy house. So grab a friend, sit down, we're ready to begin.
Hi, welcome to Kids Place. We are so glad you're with us. I'm Miss Carolyn, and joining us in the studio is a really neat bunch of kids from the Southside Parent-Child Development Center. Miss Kane is here from the Palm Harbor Library with a neat story about our subject today. So let's find out what we're talking about from our buddy Dusty, who's always hanging around. Hey, Dusty!
Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to Kids Place. My name is Dusty. Today we're going to learn about Z. I like the letter Z. So many words. Here we go. Ready, Miss Carolyn? Tell us the word Z. Okay, boys and girls, I have to go to learn all about Z. Goodbye.
Thanks, Dusty. It's always good to see you on the show. And let's talk about the letter Z, which is the very, very last letter in the whole alphabet. So it has an important job to finish up the alphabet. You guys tell me, what does the letter Z sound like? That's right. Some of our boys and girls at home can say that. Or Z. Let's look at what the Z looks like. Right over here behind me is a gold Z. And it starts at the top, goes from left to right, and then it goes down at an angle, zoop, and makes that sound, zoop, and then it goes over. And that's the letter Z. There's all kinds of things that start with Z, and I think we might have a very special Z guest later on. Yeah, that's right, there are all kinds of letters, words like zipper and things like that that start with Z, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute, so stay with us.
Z is super. Super duper. Oh boy. Let me see if I can think of any words that start with Z. There's cereal. There's secrets. Secret agents. Well, maybe I should go get the dictionary. I got the dictionary. Now let's see what's in here. There's zebra, and there's zoo, and there's huh? What's that noise? It sounds like Z. Yeah, Z. It's a miracle. Well, now let me find some more words. Shh. I'm trying to think. Yeah? You think you're something, eh? Why, you little... Okay, that's it. I'll fix you. You just wait. trick, don't you? All right, this is war. Yeah, take that and that and that and that and that and that and that. Yeah. There. Finally. Yeah. There. Free from disease. Now I can think in peace and quiet. You rats and Z's! I'll find every last one of you! You get out of here! No! I'll find you! Where'd you go? You dirty... You bad Z! No! No! I want you out!
You know, the gill straps aren't really moving. They're being robbed. These crooks know the gill straps are out of town, so they're trying to move the gill straps permanently. They think they look like movers, they act like movers, so who's gonna know? The Joneses. They know.
Dad, aren't the gill straps in Toledo?
I think they're being robbed. Should we call the police?
Call the police.
See, the Joneses know. If they don't tell the cops now, the gill straps will have to tell them later.
Hello, this is Harry.
Meanwhile, these fellas are eating lunch, about a block away. Hey, hot pastrami. That looks very good.
10-4.
How about that? Know what it takes to stop crime? Your help and your neighbors. Find out more. Write to Box 6600 Rockville, Maryland, and help take a bite out of crime.
Talking about the letter Z, and joining me right now is a very special guest, the letter Z. Well, it's wonderful to have you here with us, Mr. Z. I think you're making your sound, aren't you? Isn't that what Z's sound like?
Yes, Karen, they sound like
Well, what's your job as a Z? Aren't you the very last letter in the alphabet? Is that hard?
Yes, it's a very hard job. We have to keep all the other letters in line.
Well, we're glad you do. What are some words that begin with the letter Z, Mr. Z?
Well, I've been listening. Some of you people out there have already said some of these letters. We have like zoo, zebra.
Well, so a zebra is an animal that lives in the zoo, and both of those words begin with U, the letter Z, right?
Yes.
What are some other things we can talk about?
Well, the zoologist,
A zoologist would work in a zoo, too.
the zookeeper.
Let's make the sound of the letter Z, because sometimes it tickles my mouth. Can you feel that? Sometimes it tickles if you make it. It vibrates in your mouth to make the sound. Mr. Z, how about zero?
Zero. We have zero and zap.
Zap is kind of a sound. What's the thing that you might say? You might say, zoinks, right?
Zowie.
You know what, sometimes things can be zany, which is funny. You can be zany, can't you, Mr. Z?
Yes, I can be a little zany at times. I noticed we have a girl out there in your audience with her name is Zekra.
That's
Zekira.
right, her name begins with the letter Z. Sometimes it's hard to find people with names that begin with Z, like Zelda or Zachary.
Siegfried.
That's right, Siegfried. There you go. There's all kinds of things that begin with the letter Z. That's really fun. What if you're zipping around like this? You're kind of zigzagging around, aren't you? And that begins with Z, doesn't it? That has two Z's in it. Zigzag. So what's the most fun about being the letter Z?
Most fun?
Mm-hmm.
Well, most fun is that I get to keep everyone else in line, and
So you're the very last letter, so it's hard sometimes to get all the way to you. Do some boys and girls forget you?
lots of children forget me.
Oh, we can't have that. We always have to remember Mr. Z. Let's make this sound one last time. How about zipper? Did we talk about that?
Zipper.
Everybody has zippers. I don't have any zippers on right now.
Zoom.
Right? Or zoom?
Zoom.
When you're zooming around in your car? Uh-huh. Lots of people have zippers on today. Great, Mr. Z, we are so glad you could be with us, that you could steer away from your daily chores of being the letter Z. You're in all the boys and girls schools, aren't you?
Yes, I mean every school. Colleges and everything.
Making sure that we're all okay. All right, well, Geraldine was out finding out about the letter Z recently. Did she come out to see you?
Yes, she was out there.
Checking can be a lot of fun, so let's go find out what Geraldine was up to, checking out the letter Z.
Lots of words begin with the last letter in the alphabet, the letter Z. Let's see. Zipper starts with Z. Zip, zip, zipper. Our friend Miss Carolyn is zany. Zany starts with Z. Numbers start with Z too, like zillions and zero. Zeros are important numbers. You can find zeros everywhere. Zigzag is a direction. These cars zig and zag across the street. Z for zig and zag. That's it for our zany Z adventure. I'm so tired, I feel like a zombie. I'm gonna catch some Z's. For Kids Play, I'm Geraldine. See?
And it's time for story time. Miss Mary Jane is from the Palm Harbor Library, so what's in store for us?
Today we're going to go with your letter Z to the zoo with Mr. Muster.
Okay.
This is called A Zoo for Mr. Muster. Now, Mr. Muster has a lot of friends, and every sunny day he puts on his vest and his coat and his hat, and he goes to visit his friends, and he goes to visit them at the park, because in his park is a zoo. Mr. Muster loved all the animals in the zoo, and all the animals in the zoo loved Mr. Muster. Elephants trumpeted loudly when he would come through the entrance of the zoo. The lions would begin to roar, and the birds and the monkeys would screech and chatter, and they would say welcome in their own language. There was so much noise that the zookeeper would have to put his fingers in his ears because it was too loud. Well, every Saturday and every Sunday, Mr. Muster would come to the zoo, and he'd spend the whole day there. When night came, Mr. Muster would say goodbye to all his friends, and he'd be sad, and the animals were sad. Mr. Muster didn't live very far away. He lived right at the end of the street from the zoo. He would walk home, and he didn't live alone either. He had 2 goldfish and a canary at home. Now, one day, the animals missed Mr. Muster too. And one day when the zookeeper was asleep, the elephant stole his key. And the elephant unlocked all the cages of all the animals in the zoo. And all the animals in the zoo knew just what they wanted to do. They wanted to visit Mr. Muster. So they sneaked out of the zoo, tiptoed past the doorman at Mr. Muster's apartment, and they went upstairs to Mr. Muster's apartment. The next morning, the zookeeper saw that all his animals were gone, and he called the police, and the police came, and they looked everywhere. Back at the apartment house where Mr. Muster lived, people were hearing strange noises. They were seeing elephants in the elevator. They were seeing hippopotamuses in the hall. And they called the police. Well, the police came, and the zookeeper came with them. Policemen knocked loudly on Mr. Muster's door. "Open up, in the name of the law," they cried, and the door opened, and there stood Mr. Muster. "Good day, gentlemen. Won't you come in and have lunch with us?" Well, the policeman and the zookeeper were speechless because there were all the zoo animals in Mr. Muster's apartment. They were having lunch. Mr. Muster had baked a giant chocolate cake. Well, the zookeeper and the policeman explained to Mr. Muster that the animals had to go back to the zoo. He couldn't keep them all in his apartment. Well, the animals set up a great roaring, and they ran and they hid. "Halt, in the name of the law," called the policeman. But the animals just tried to hide. Some hid in the bathroom, some hid in the bedroom. "Mr. Muster," said the zookeeper, "please, please, please ask the animals to come back to the zoo. If you do, I'll do anything you want. I'll even make you assistant zookeeper, and you could be at the zoo all the time." Well, when the animals heard that, they came out of their hiding places. They marched back to the zoo with Mr. Muster in the lead. When they got there, they made sure that Mr. Muster had his own house, and he was the assistant zookeeper, and he could be there 24 hours a day, all the time with his friends, and he was very, very happy. And that was Mr. Muster. A zoo for Mr. Muster.
Fantastic story as always, Miss Mary Jane. A lot of
Thank
Z's for zoo in that. As our featured letter is today, the letter Z. And I want to remind all our boys and girls that reading is a lot of fun, and you can check books out at your own library and read to your heart's content. So we'll be right back with Kids Place, because Geraldine is next. So stay with us.
The Disney Channel takes great pride in presenting a very special series.
Look, we're here.
The world's best-loved nursery rhymes brought to life through the wizardry of Muppet Magic. With a humor and charm children are sure to cherish.
Follow us to school one day.
But that's against the rules.
Jim Henson's Mother Goose Days, weekends at 8:30 a.m. on the Disney Channel.
Ooh, wonderful. Yes, yes.
Oh, hello everybody. Geraldine and I were just practicing some music for the next Kids Play show. My name is Mr. Dave, and when I'm not here at Kids Place, I'm at Shepherd Education Center. We have two locations, one in Palm Harbor on Tampa Road, and one in Largo on Walsingham Road. We'd sure like to see you there. Come on, Geraldine, let's practice some more. Rhyme, rhyme, rhyme. Make a rhyme on. Rhyme, rhyme, I make a rhyme on time.
You know, the gill straps aren't really moving. They're being robbed. These crooks know the gill straps are out of town, so they're trying to move the gill straps permanently. They figure they look like movers, they act like movers, so who's gonna know? The Joneses. They know.
Dad, the gill straps in Toledo?
I think they're being robbed. Should we call the police?
Call the police.
See, the Joneses know if they don't tell the cops now, the gill straps will have to pay later.
Hello, this is Harry.
Meanwhile, these fellas are eating lunch, about a block away.
Car 21.
Hey, pastrami, that looks very good.
35 in progress.
Tampa.
How about that? Know what it takes to stop a crime? Your help and your neighbors. Find out more. Write to Box 6600 Rockville, Maryland, and help take a bite out of crime.
And we have changed. We're over at the bungalow, so you know what that means?
Time for some good jokes and some good music.
That's right. It's time for Geraldine. So we need to call her out. So since I know you kids, this is the first time you've been on our show, we need to let you know how Geraldine comes out. She's a pretty shy little giraffe. So the way we out is we count to 3, 1, 2, 3, and we call her name out. And if we're lucky, she's in a good mood and she'll come out. Tell us some jokes. Ready? Let's all do it. You kids, let's do this too. 1, 2, 3. Geraldine! Oh, it worked! It's Geraldine! Oh, are you taking a nap, Jay? Catching some Z's.
Catching some Z's.
Oh, Geraldine, you're killing me already. You have any jokes?
Well, sure, I have jokes today.
Like what?
All about the alphabet, Miss Carolyn.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Why did Miss Carolyn eat all of her alphabet soup?
Why did I eat all of my alphabet
Anybody
soup?
know?
It's kind of
Anybody?
personalized. I don't know. I'm trying to think. What, Geraldine? I don't know.
Because she wanted to pass her spelling bee.
Because I passed my spelling bee. Oh, that's interesting. That's a good thought. Okay, how about another one, Geraldine?
Okay, what letter do cooks like to bake?
What letter do cooks like to make?
Cooks. What letters
Like
do
a baker?
cooks like to bake?
I don't know. What letter?
They like to cook cookies.
Cookies. They like to cook Eve. Geraldine.
Get it?
I get
I
it.
get it.
Took me a minute, but I got it.
All right.
That was a good one. I think the kids are getting it right about now. Anyway, Geraldine, that was great. You look terrific. There's a special glint about you. What's going on?
Because I'm well rested. I was today.
We are so glad. You look perky. Ready for some singing?
I'm ready.
Are you kids ready for some good singing and some music? Hey, boys and girls at home, you can sing and clap along with us, okay? Mr. Dave, what do you got up your sleeve for us?
Well, since we're talking about letters of the alphabet, especially the letter Z, I thought we'd sing the alphabet.
All right, let's do it.
Kind of reminds me of the alphabet cereal joke.
Yeah.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? No, Z is way at the end. It takes a while to get there.
Last letter of the alphabet.
Let's sing the song a little faster so we can get to the Z quicker.
Okay, faster.
Here we go. A, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? Now, these kids seem to know the alphabet really well.
Right.
Now, I know Geraldine's a little out of breath. So we're going to go even faster this time.
Time.
Let's see how we do our alphabet.
Okay.
A, B, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me?
Woo! I'm beat. That was rough.
That was fast, wasn't
You
it?
know, we were talking about this. Geraldine, take a breath. I need to give you some CPR. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Geraldine. Okay, so how about we've been talking about animals, and there are a lot of animals in the zoo, right? So let's sing an animal song.
Well, I know an animal about a guy that had a whole zoo full of animals. His name was Noah.
Right.
And he built an ark, and he put a whole zoo full of animals on the ark.
2 of each.
2 of each. Probably some zebras, giraffes, yeah.
Let's do it.
And this is a song about Noah building the ark.
Okay.
The Lord told Noah, there's gonna be a floody, Lord. So Noah, it's gonna be a floody, get those animals out of the muddy heaven of the Lord. And
Everybody.
the Lord told Noah to build him an arky, Lord. So Noah, you build him an arky, build it out of gopher, barky children of the Lord. So rise and shine, and give God the glory, rise and shine, and give God the glory, rise and shine, and give God the glory, children of the Lord. The animals, they came in by twosies, animals, they came in by twosies, elephants, giraffes, and kangaroos, these children of the Lord. So rise and shine, and give God the glory, rise and shine, and give God the glory, rise and shine, and give God glory, children of the Lord. It rained for 40 days, it rained, and for 40 days, it almost struck us, and almost crazy children of the Lord. So rise and shine, and give God the glory, rise and shine, and give God the glory, rise and shine, and give God the glory, children of the Lord.
Woo, that was funky.
I think Geraldine likes that song.
It was full of zest.
It was very sad.
Okay, you got another one, Mr. Dave?
Yeah.
These kids are pumped and ready for more songs, I think.
Well, I got a good, fast, fun song to sing.
Let's listen.
This song's called Johnny Be Good.
Let's go. Go, Geraldine.
We're down in Louisiana, down in New Orleans, back up in the woods among the Everglades. Just a log cabin in a birthday wood. Lived a country boy named Johnny Be Good. He never ever learned to read or write so well, but he plays the guitar just like he's ringing a bell. Go, 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 Johnny, go, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go. Johnny Be Good. He used to carry a guitar in a bunny sack and sit beneath the trees by the railroad tracks. Daily you could see him sitting in the shade, strumming to the rhythm of the drive he made. People pass by with no to stop and say, mind the country boy knows how to play. Go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go, go. Go, Go, Johnny, go, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go, go. Johnny, be good. His mama told him one day you will be a man. You will be the leader of a rock and roll band. People gonna come from many miles around to see you kick out till the sun goes down. Baby, one day your name will be in line. Johnny, be good tonight. Go, go. Go, Johnny, go, 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 go, go. Johnny, be good.
Boy, that was burning.
That's a fun song to do.
That was hot. One more I bet we have time
Sure.
for.
That song drifts along, so to speak.
That was zippity zag.
Here's a little slower song called Dreams of Gold.
Okay, Dreams of Gold. I don't know this one.
Dreams of gold. Dreams of gold. I dream my dream of gold. Dreams of gold. I ride a pony far across the sky. I can go forever. Geraldine and I were just practicing some music for the next Kids Play show. My name is Mr. Dave, and when I'm not here at Kids Place, I'm at Shepherd Music Education Center. We have two locations, one in Palm Harbor on Tampa Road, and one in Argo on Walsingham Road. We'd sure like to see you there. Come on, Geraldine, let's practice some more. Rhyme, 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 make a rhyme on time. Rhyme, 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 make a rhyme on time.
That's Jenny. But that's not Jenny's dad. If she gets into that car, you may be looking at Jenny for the last time. I'm McGruff, the crime dog. Let me show you something. See that playground? A lot of kids there. Every day in this country, 60 kids disappear. Some run away, but a lot are kidnapped by strangers or even by people they know. Almost 20,000 kids a year. 20,000 kids, one kid at a time. Maybe your kid, on your street, just like Jenny. You know, your kids can learn to protect themselves against crime at home, at school, on the street. Hey, nice going, Jenny. She's going to tell her folks about this. And you can write to McGruff. Learn how to keep your family and your community safe and help take a bite out of crime.
Think again. Battle.
In Tampa and Clearwater. Bookstop. Supporting people and programs that make a difference. And by the James and Amy Schimberg Charitable Trust. And by members of WEDU.
Reading Rainbow is made possible by funding from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by a grant from Kellogg's, who reminds you to take time each day for reading.
Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere, friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. A reading rainbow.
Oh, hi there. Isn't the New England Aquarium great? It's so much fun to see a whole other world, especially the world underwater. I love to come visit all the fish and marine life that live here. You know they have exhibits here with dogfish, catfish, cowfish, and hogfish? Yeah. This is the giant ocean tank. The largest tank of its kind in the world. And you can see barracudas, sea turtles, triggerfish, even sharks. There are so many different kinds of fish in the world, it makes my head swim. These are giant groupers. And you know, when I'm sitting here watching, I can't help but wonder what it would be like to be a fish. Do you think it's all wet and slippery when you live underwater? Do fish scales feel rough and prickly from the inside? How do fish sleep without eyelids? Think they mind having sand in their beds? Is flapping a fin like waving a hand? I don't know. But you know, I just read a very interesting book about a person who loved fish so much that that was all he could think about. It's called Louis the Fish, and some very mysterious things happen in it. You know, if I didn't know better, I'd say these fish were talking to each other.
Boy, this guy can't take his eyes off us.
I wonder why human beings are always staring in here. They must be admiring us.
Oh, stop fishing for compliments.
I wonder what it's like to be human.
On a scale of 1 to 10? Hey, what's this guy reading?
Ooh, I know that book. It's called Louis the Fish. I saw it at the public library.
What were you doing at the library? Looking for bookworms?
No, really. It's a good book. It's got some great lines.
I'm hooked already.
Louis the Fish. Story by Arthur Eurinks. Pictures by Richard Egelski. One day last spring, Louis, a butcher, turned into a fish. Silvery scales, big lips, a tail, a salmon. Louis did not lead before this an unusual life. His grandfather was a butcher. His father was a butcher. So Louis was a butcher. He had a small shop on Flatbush. Steady customers, good meat. He was always friendly, always helpful, a wonderful guy. But Louis was not a happy man. He hated meat. On birthdays, his beaming parents would hand him a gift-wrapped salami. When he was 13, they gave him a turkey. Louis did anything to get away from meat. He got a job afternoons, cleaning fish tanks in a doctor's office. Oh, Louis loved the job. For hours, he'd stare at the fish, their eyes blinking, their fins flapping. But a good thing doesn't last long. One night at dinner, Lewis's mother said to his father, Nat, why does Lewis have to slave over those lousy fish? What's the matter? You can't give him a little job in the store? But, Ma, I like... You're right, Rose. Tomorrow, Lewis, after school, you come to the store. It's time you learn something about meat. And that was it. Every day, Lewis was at his father's shop. Someday, this will all be yours, his father would say. And it was. His parents died suddenly, and Lewis took over the butcher shop. For years, that's where he worked. Lewis was so unhappy. His only happy times were when he was in the refrigerator. There, he'd sit for hours and draw fish. Big ones, little ones. He'd draw them all over the place. Surrounded by steaks, all Lewis thought about was fish. But then, it got worse. He began to see fish everywhere. At home, on the bus, at ball games. Even his customers began to look like fish to him. Business started to fail. His health declined. He was always thirsty. At night, Lewis had trouble sleeping. One night in May, he had bad dreams. He dreamt he was walking down the street and he was attacked. Hamburgers were punching him. Salamis kicked him. Lamb chops, roast beefs, and briskets all ganged up on him. He yelled for help. But no one came. That morning, Lewis woke up feeling cold and wet. He was a fish. A salmon. Al, from Al's pet store, found him on the bus going up Flatbush. Look at that face, he tells his customers. I couldn't eat him, so I brought him to the store. Lewis soon forgot everything about being a butcher, living on Flatbush, or even being a human being at all. After a hard life, Lewis was a happy fish.
That's really marvelous.
What a whale of a story!
What a beautiful fishtail.
Why, thank you.
Not your fishtail. The tale of Lewis the fish. The story.
That Lewis sure was lucky. He didn't have to flounder through life as a human.
It must be every human's dream.
Yeah, I catch your drift. To go to sleep a person.
And wake up a salmon.
That's the best fish story I've heard in years.
I know Lewis was happy to turn into a fish for the rest of his life. I'd kind of like to see the world from a fish's point of view, too. But not if it meant having to spend every day in a school. Besides, after living for a few days as a fish, I'd probably like to turn into something else for a little while. Like a giraffe with a neck so long I could see way above the treetops. Or maybe even an eagle. They're so majestic, and I've always wanted to fly. If you could be anything in the world, anything, what would you choose?
I would like to be an alligator because it has sharp teeth, it can swim well, and it is green.
I would choose to be a snake.
A duck.
A lion.
A hummingbird.
I would like to be a horse.
I would like to be a camel because it has 2 humps, and a camel is my favorite kind of animal.
A leopard.
A giraffe.
A rabbit.
A monkey, because they swing around on vines, and I like to swing around on vines.
I would be a shark because I like the water.
I can really see why you would want to be a fish like me. Living in the ocean is like a fantasy. It's so easy living way down below. The sea will take you anywhere you want to go.
All around you can feel the ocean flow. The motion will astound you.
Come on down.
There's so much to see.
Look around.
Just floating free.
I have found
It's the best way to be. Just take it from me. Sea living.
Try it out for a week or two, and you will surely see a barracuda or an angelfish was what you were meant to be. Be a shark and everyone gets out of your way. Be an eel and lie on the bottom all day.
Be a lobster, glimmer like a butterfly fish. Live in a shell if that's what you wish.
Be a whale.
Be a seahorse too.
Be a snail.
Be a bright shade of blue.
Grow a tail.
Grow a fin or two. It's all up to you. Sea living. Sea living. It's easy 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 living.
If Louis were swimming around in the ocean instead of a fish tank in Al's pet store, he'd come face to face with a lot of creatures. And not all of them would be fish. There's a variety of animals that live in the water. Some, like whales, sea lions, and dolphins, are mammals, just like you and me. Mammals can't breathe underwater like fish can. They have to come up for air. And sea mammals can do some things that fish never dreamed of. Did you know that whales can sing, and dolphins whistle, squeak, and chirp to communicate? Sea mammals are warm-blooded animals. They take care of each other, and mothers nurse their young. I guess you could say that they're not cold fish. When a dolphin smiles your way, you can hardly keep from hugging her.
Come on, Dixie, give me a hug. They love to do whatever you see them doing. Dolphins are pretty happy animals. In fact, most everybody will tell you that a dolphin has a built-in smile, and that's exactly right. They're very independent thinkers a good deal of the time. They're very peaceful animals. They like to spend a lot of time just playing and eating. A pretty ideal life. I wouldn't mind doing that myself. Hello, my name's Dennis Markham. This is my place, the Aqua Circus of Cape Cod, down here in West Yarmouth in Massachusetts. And these are my dolphins, Dixie and Dolly. You know, dolphins are very interesting animals. There's a lot we know about them and a lot we don't. Well, if we look at them, we can see that they do have the shape of a fish, but unlike fish, dolphins are mammals, and they breathe air just like you and I do. They can hold their breath underwater for about 6 or 8 minutes, but if they stay down any longer than that, they can drown just like we can too. Well, here's Dixie again, and you can see he has a long nose. This is the Atlantic bottlenose dolphin. You can see why. It looks just like a bottle. The nose is very, very hard. It's solid bone, and its prime function is for defense. Now, sometimes hungry sharks go looking for little dolphins to eat. And what probably would happen, because dolphins travel in groups or pods, is some of the big adults are going to form a circle around the youngsters, just like wagon trains did in the old days to protect themselves from any danger. But they form a protective circle, and some of the bigger adults will swim outside the circle and probably attack that shark using their nose. They use it as a battering ram. It's very effective. They can aim right for the gill cage and kill the shark. And he has very sharp teeth, 96 of them. They're pointed, and the dolphins use those teeth to hold fish. They don't chew their food. They swallow it whole. Now, let's see if we can get a Dixie to come over here. Did you hear that sound? Those are the dolphins breathing through a hole in the top of their head that we call a blowhole. Now, they don't breathe through their mouth. That goes right to their stomach, so they can eat underwater. But when they dive underwater, and if we look, we can see it's closed up real tight so no water gets down there. Maybe if I give him a piece of herring here, we could get Dixie to stand up a little bit, and we can see a little bit more of his body. Those two flippers, oh, Dixie's talking now. Those two flippers on the side of his body are the pectoral flippers. And the dolphins use them to kind of steer themselves through the water. Now, on the middle of the back is another flipper, or a fin. It's called the dorsal. And if we can get another look way in the back there goes Dolly swimming away. You can see a big, broad tail fluke. This is the locomotion for the dolphin. They move that tail up and down in the water, and they really move along pretty fast. They can swim about 35, maybe 40 miles an hour in the open ocean. Now, dolphins have pretty good eyesight. They see real well when the water's nice and clear, but sometimes they're in murky water, or perhaps it's dark, there's no moon, and they might be on a hunt looking for fish. So they have an ability to see without eyes. It's a kind of a sonar, which is how submarines in the ocean detect other ships or other submarines. What the dolphins do is send a clicking sound out that bounces off the school of fish, and it comes back to the dolphin, and they receive it on this round part of their forehead. Can you come up here a minute, Dolly, and I'll let everybody see your forehead? Come on right up here. There it is. This part of the forehead we call the melon, and that's where the sounds are received. And the brain translates that information so they can tell if it's a school of fish, a hungry shark, which they probably wouldn't go after, or a ship, or a swimmer, or anything. Now, the skin on the dolphin is pretty special, too. I don't know if you can see. There we go. It's nice and smooth. You know what it feels like is a wet inner tube. You know, when you go to the beach, you bring that old tire tube, and that's real smooth, and it moves through the water pretty smoothly, too. Well, that's exactly why dolphin skin is very smooth, so they can move through the water. See, Dixie? He's spitting at me. Dolphins think and act like 5 or 6-year-old children. Dixie's playing a little game with me. He doesn't want me to pay attention to you. He wants me to pay attention to him, so he's spitting at me. But that's fun. I don't mind too much. Sometimes if I don't pay enough attention, he'll start to show off. You know how your little brother and sister do that once in a while at home? Well, dolphins do that all the time. There we go. Making a sound there for us today, Dixie. He's talking to me. He's saying, hey, this isn't too bad. I'm having some fun. I'm getting a lot of free food here, and I don't have to do any work for it. That sound comes out of the blowhole. Remember that hole that they breathe through? Well, they force air through there. That's where all those sounds come from. They don't talk to each other like that. They have another type of language that we don't know a whole lot about. That's because it's a system of squeaks and whistles. A lot of the sounds are so high-pitched that we can't hear them with the ear. We can't hear them with very complicated machinery. We know the dolphins have some type of language. We've seen them work together. We've seen dolphins hunt as a group, where one dolphin will give another dolphin a signal to move in on a group of fish. We know they can talk to each other. We just don't know exactly how it occurs. It's very, very sophisticated, though. Very complex. Well, I hope you've seen that working with dolphins can be a lot of fun. I don't see how it could be otherwise. It's also a very wet job to have, as you can also see, I think. But I really enjoy this, and I don't know anybody who isn't infatuated by dolphins. I hope you've learned a little bit about dolphins today, and the next time you see one, maybe you'll think of Dixie and Dolly. I've enjoyed talking to you very much. Goodbye for now.
Dolphins are lovable, aren't they? But you wouldn't want to hug this guy. This is a sea urchin. And you see these spines here? Feels like a pincushion. Ooh, here's an interesting guy from the sea. This is a horseshoe crab. He's got blue blood, and he's about as old as the dinosaurs. Uses this little tail here to turn him over when he's upside down underwater. Pretty neat, huh? You know, sea stars don't have any ears, fingers, or toes, but they do have arms. 5 of them. And hundreds of tiny little feelers. They call them tube feet. They tell him everything he needs to know. He can grab onto things with them, and that's how he moves around. Ah, this is one of my favorite creatures from the sea. It's called a moon snail. Look at those colors. Knock, knock, knock. Anybody home? I know this guy's home. Snails never leave their shells. Pretty small world, isn't it? But yours doesn't have to be. Watch this. Mealtime is always a favorite occasion here at the aquarium. The penguins always wear their tuxedos to dinner. Still hungry, guys? Still hungry? These guys are always hungry. They eat 5 to 6 pounds of squid a day and weigh up to 500 pounds each. You still hungry for more good books? Well, here's some I know you'll just gobble up. But you don't have to take my word for it.
Do you like monsters? Well, I do. I even have a couple of them. They're my brothers. My name's Erica Ernest. I read Where the Wild Things Are. It's fabulous. And it's about a boy named Max, and he dressed up in his wolf suit. He was making mischief all over. And his mother sent him to bed without any supper. The best part of the book was when the wild things made Max king. In the rumpus, they danced, they howled, and they screamed, and they had fun and everything. I'm Erica Ernst, and I'm telling you that if you don't read this book, boy, you're missing a lot of fun, and you're missing almost everything.
Hello. Have you ever been inside on a rainy day and have had nothing to do? Well, I have. This book I read called One Monday Morning, a little boy was inside on a rainy day and was staring out the window. He was very bored, so he decided to play with a deck of playing cards. When he was looking at the cards, he decided to imagine that the king, the queen, and the little prince wanted to come and visit him. This book is an excellent example of using your imagination, and I highly recommend it to you if you are home alone on a rainy day. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Laura Russell. If you like fishes and you've ever considered becoming an ichthyologist, a person who studies fishes for a living, then this is the book for you. It's called A Fish Hatches by Joanna Cole and Jerome Wexler. This book has 39 pages filled with black and white photographs and all kinds of facts about fish, how they're born, their habits, and their external anatomy. This is a nonfiction book, which means it's based off of facts. And it presents the facts about fish in an easygoing manner, which you will enjoy to read. I highly recommend it.
The aquarium's a great place to find out more about life underwater. And I'm glad I got a glimpse of what Lewis's new life might be like. But you know, even though Lewis preferred being a fish, I'm happy as a clam to be just who I am. See you next time.
Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere, friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere, friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. A reading rainbow.
Funding for Reading Rainbow is made possible by a grant from Kellogg's, who urges you to explore the joys of reading. Funding for the series was also provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
This is PBS. Local broadcast of Reading Rainbow is made possible by Bookstop, with stores in Tampa and Clearwater. Bookstop, supporting people and programs that make a difference. And by the James and Amy Schimberg Charitable Trust. And by members of
Reading Rainbow is made possible by funding from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. And by a grant from Kellogg's, who reminds you to take time each day for reading.
Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere, friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. A reading rainbow.
know, there's nothing like a good dinosaur movie to get the imagination going. Ever since I can remember, I've been in love with dinosaurs. I used to dream of going back in time millions of years to get a close-up look at a real dinosaur. But you know, coming face to face with one of those big fellas would be no joke. Unless, of course, he had a good sense of humor.
What does a dinosaur use to fix things? A rep tool. Get it? A rep tool. Okay, you look like a musical crowd. What kind of music do teenage dinosaurs like best? Rocks and roll. All right, cool it. I got this one, little kid. What did the dinosaur piano teacher tell his students? Be sure and practice your scales. Oh, I got a